Elishibah Msengeti Poriot, Ara and Ara, Ara and Ara, Elishibah Msengeti Poriot.
Kathy Crum, the author of Mentoring at Work, once said that a network of mentors can be as big or as small as you want it to be. But the reality is that often you need to have more than one perspective in life, and therefore you need more than one mentor. In SEMA, I have learned the verity of this statement. You see, when I joined Toastmasters, I thought I could write and speak fairly well. However, I shared my first speech with none other than the then president, Robert Karanja. And he helped me to unpack it in ways that I had not thought about. He helped me to organize the speech so that the introduction was very clear, the transitions were sensible, and more importantly, the message that I was trying to give through my icebreaker speech was succinct and understandable. I learned from this experience, which was my very first experience at Toastmasters, that a mentor doesn't take away your voice, but in fact, they amplify it in a better way. And this is exactly what one of these mentors did, and that was Robert Karanja. A second example through which I learned the importance of mentorship was when I was asked to write an article on, wait for it, mentorship. So I wrote this article and thought it sounded quite good. But then I asked myself, what if I share it with someone who has a pretty critical eye and hear what they think? And the person that came to mind once again was Robert Karanja. So I sent him a message and apologized for the short notice within which I needed his feedback. And he responded and said, send it to me, send it on email. I sent it very fast before he could change his mind. What happened next really surprised me. Robert not only went through the article, but he actually did those things, you know, when you track changes and you put comments and you put questions. And then I followed this up with a phone call to him, but a personal touch to this story. Who else is saying what you're saying? Because I had given all this information about mentorship without quoting anybody else. And he said, every time you're writing an article or giving information, it's good to say who else has also said what you've said. What is the source of your information? But the lesson that I learned there in that experience was not so much about the article, but about the availability of a mentor, that they're able to share their experience and expertise, sometimes even at short notice. The article was published and it became my first published article in a national daily in the Star newspaper. And when everybody was saying how useful the article was, I knew in my mind that there was a real star behind it. And this was Robert Karanja. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember my speech title is R and R. Well, there is another R. One of the quotes on mentorship is that a mentor doesn't always have to wear the badge of a mentor. One time, another president asked me to serve as a TMOD. And I said to him, you think I can do it? And he said, of course you can. A meeting as a Toastmaster of the day. This was none other than Robert Kimani. So Robert helped me to do my very first meeting, to run my experience, was not only how to run the meeting, but the fact that when I see a very well-organized meeting, there's a lot of background work that goes on that we never get to see. He also taught me to follow up on people when they don't give you responses without naming and shaming them. This indeed was a great lesson because, again, we have grown up in a culture of naming and shaming, unfortunately. He taught me to be persistent, that your end goal is that the meeting should be successful. Focus on that, and if you need to call people, message them, do so. This was a great lesson in the humility that is required of a leader, and that you have to be a servant leader. Not only did Robert Kimani teach me this, there's a fourth example where again, he mentored me, probably without knowing. It was a time when there was, we were supposed to vie for positions in SEMA. And I was thinking about it because I wanted to give back to SEMA, and there was a guilt about it because I had to also vie for another position in another organization that I was in. And I remember I had to call Robert Kimani and ask him what he thought. And when I explained to him, he told me, Elishibah, by the way, it's better to say no than to say yes and not deliver. Remember the other time he had taught me for being TMOD that you say yes and figure it out. Now he taught me that you can say no sometimes and it is okay. I learned from this experience that sometimes you could be the right person, or it could be the right moment, but you don't always have to say yes. With his help, we were able to run elections in this other organization. I had no idea how to do a ballot vote on Zoom, and he helped me to do it. And later, when we helped the election committee to do the elections, I actually ended up as the chair of that alumni association. What is the point of all this? R&R to many people means rest and restoration. But for me, R&R is a representation of successful mentorship. Robert Karanja, Robert Kimani, but more importantly, who am I an R&R to? And you, fellow Toastmaster and guest, are you R&R to anybody? Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.